Hello everyone, DM Gashbad here, and welcome back to another game of Rusty Dagger, the solo miniatures agnostic RPG zine game. We are following the story of the infamous mercenary Raskin the Reptile. He is up to level 2 and this is his third adventure, which, not to brag, I think is the furthest I've seen anyone on YouTube take this game. I could be wrong and it's kind of a dumb thing to take note of, but I'll take my nerd flexes where I can find them. In his last adventure, Raskin was joined by the bold but inexperienced villager Jill, and as far as equipment goes, we don't have anything too special. None of us have a ranged weapon except for a single vial of acid. We do have 2 small healing potions with Raskin, a single small healing potion with Jill. She's also got a potion of invisibility, a magic robe that we can't identify so we can't use. We're just really not smart about the magic stuff. Raskin also has a revive potion, which can bring Jill back to life if she gets brought down to 0 hit points, and he's got a maiden ring, which gives him +1 to his candor stat. Today's adventure is called the City of Ice. It's for adventure level 1 or 2, so we're on the high end of that. I pulled this from the Drive-Thru RPG site, again for the princely cost of no money. I don't think this one was written by Rob Salters. I think this may have been a fan submission. Either way, we start in the Rusty Dagger Tavern, and we're talking to a merchant. We're getting him drunk, we're plying him for all his information. Turns out he sent an expedition north to a fabled city of ice, where there's supposed to be treasure just lying around. Problem is, he hasn't heard back from them. We give him a few more drinks, he gives us a few more details. We set out bright and early to loot and pillage with our newfound information, maybe rescue this expedition that might have gotten lost along the way. I don't know, time and weather permitting. We travel north for a couple of weeks, getting kind of far from the Rusty Dagger Tavern. Maybe it's a chain or something. And then we find our first narrative challenge. We discover the Caravan. It's been attacked by bandits and most of the people in it have been killed, except for one terribly wounded soldier by the name of Hesperon Manor. Pretty dope name. Pretty good stats, too. He's got 7 health. He only has a -1 to his archery skill, so he's a better shot than both Jill and Raskin. No modifier to his swordsmanship, candor, or survival, which is nice. And is actually pretty good at luck and arcane. Maybe he can identify that magic robe. He's got a bow with 2 arrows, a poison antidote, and he has the ability Survival Instinct, which is once per combat. If he goes down to 0 hit points, you roll a d6. On a 3+, he goes right back up to 1. But first we have to patch him up. He's terribly wounded, and so I need to make a survival check with the difficulty number of 5. So I'm going to roll 2d6, and I'm going to add my survival. Now, I've put almost all of my abilities into swordsmanship. Raskin has a +3 to his swordsmanship, and not a whole lot else. He did put his survival up to 4, so he has no modifier, so all I have to do is roll a 5+ on 2d6 to rescue this guy and add him into the party. So that's only like a 1 in 6 chance of failing. I roll a 4. Raskin can't figure out how to bandage his wounds, gets his hand tied up on the limb that he's trying to save, and, well, Hesperon just dies in front of us. Nice job, Raskin. I cannot keep my companions alive. Allendale died the first adventure, Jill went down to 0 hit points the second adventure. I did bring her back up, and now poor Hesperon. No one should hang out with this guy. Dejected but not deterred, we move on. We're traveling up the road, and sure enough, if Hesperon were here he probably could have warned us, but we get ambushed by the very same bandits that attacked the Caravan. It's our first combat challenge, and now that we're in the outdoors, I went and set up an outdoor grid for us to use. We've got a scattering of low terrain, and we're facing off against 2 bandits and the bandit leader. Bandit leader must shop at the same store that Allendale did. There's also a special rule in this encounter that there is some thick fog, so ranged attacks are limited to 5 squares. Doesn't affect anyone here. None of us have any ranged attacks. Because it's an ambush, we are going to have disadvantage in this first combat round. If we had healed Hesperon, we would have gotten an advantage to cancel that out, but oh well. So we put 3 of our tokens in a bag. The bad guys get 4 tokens. We draw a token to start with, and we get a bad guy. The closest bad guy is the one towards the middle, so he loops around south to try and get at Raskin. Second token drawn is a good guy token. Again, Jill is not great at fighting still. There doesn't seem to be any way to improve my companions, so that's kind of going to be how it is for a while. And since none of us have any missile weapons, I'm just going to send Raskin out front. He's probably going to take all my activations. I'm going to meet this bandit charge head on. Second token is another bad guy. The bandit leader advances, gets a little stuck behind his friend. Third bad guy token, and I've realized that I've kind of blocked off the southern path. You can hop over these low obstacles, but it takes a lot of movement. Turns out it's actually faster for this last bandit to go after Jill, so that's what he does. Not exactly what I wanted. I pull my second good guy token, so I'm going to activate Raskin again. I need to kill off these two bandits down here and try and help out Jill. So Raskin advances and attacks. He's going to roll 2d6 and add his +3 swordsmanship modifier. The bandit just rolls a d8. Those numbers are well and truly in my favor. Raskin hits the bandit, gets a 9 to his 1. Bandit takes a wound. They only have 3 health. Good start. For the next activation, we pull the last bad guy token, so the bandit that I just hit is the closest one, so he gets the activation. Goes ahead and throws a sword at Raskin. D8 comes with a 6, which isn't terrible, but Raskin rolls 2d6 and adds his brawn. His brawn is a +2, so that gives him an 8, easily defends. In return, we draw the last good guy token. Raskin's going to take another attack, gets a mighty 12 to the bandit's 5. Bandit takes a second wound. So new round and the tokens go back in the bag. This time it's 3 for both of us. Bandit token comes out first, and the bandit that Raskin is fighting is still the closest, so he gets the activation. Goes and swings and misses, a 7 versus an 8. We get a good guy token next, so that means it's time for Raskin to finish this guy off. I do not roll super well. I get a 4, which brings me up to a 7. Bandit rolls a 7 of his own and is unhurt. Another bandit token comes out, and because of all that terrain, it's actually kind of a long walk for the leader to get to Raskin, so we're going to activate the other bandit instead. He makes a full 4-square advance towards Jill. She might be in some danger. We get the second good guy token next, and Raskin takes another swing at that bandit. This time he finishes him off, 10 versus an 8. Not bad, a third of the way there. Immediately draw the next good guy token after that. Wasting no time, Raskin jumps over the fallen body of his attacker and surges into the bandit leader. The bandit leader has 4 health, and his action dice are a d8 +2, so he's a bit better. Raskin does okay with his roll. He gets a total of 10, but the bandit leader maxes out the d8 and gets a 10 of his own. Final bad guy token, and the leader can't capitalize. Rolls an 8 versus Raskin's 9. Raskin is unhurt. So new round tokens go back in the bag. We draw the good guys first. I'm kind of doing the math here, and I'm a little worried that if I continue on with my plan of just giving all the activations to Raskin to kill off this bandit leader, by the time he gets back to where Jill and the bandit are fighting, she's going to be dead. They're going to be like 3 full moves away. Once the leader is dead, that regular bandit is going to get all the bad guy activations. I think I have to do a change of plan. I'm going to activate Jill instead. Her stats aren't actually that much worse than the bandit. She rolls 2d6 -2. The bandit is d8. Her average is 5. His average is 4.5. She should have this. Plus advancing like she is, that does bring her closer to Raskin if need be. So anyway, charges into this bandit like an absolute champ. First attack, she ends up with a very average 5, but the bandit rolls a 2 and takes a wound. There you go, Jill. Nice work. We get a bandit activation next, and we randomly determine which guy is going to go. It's going to be the leader, which is absolutely fine. Misses by a mile with an absolutely pathetic roll of 3 versus Raskin's 13. Bad guy activation again, and this time the regular bandit is going to attack Jill. He only rolls a 3, but Jill goes and rolls a 4, and with her -2 that brings her down to 2. Jill takes a wound, down to just 3 health remaining. And then we draw the final bad guy token immediately after that, roll randomly to see who gets it. The regular bandit does. Hits her again. Scores a 4 versus Jill's 2. Jill is not rolling real well. This may have been a mistake. So I know I've got 2 good guy activations left in the bag. I'm going to give them both to Jill. Starts off okay. Hits the bandit with a 4 versus his 1. Just need one more hit and this gone. Doesn't come up with it. Her second attack gets a 6 versus his 8. He's still alive. New round, and the bandits get the first go, and it's the regular bandit attacking Jill. The good news is that he only rolls a 2. Jill manages to defend with a total of 4. Jill gets the next draw. She misses the bandit again, just not rolling great. 4 versus 5. Another good guy activation. Another miss from Jill. 6 versus 8. I'm glad both these guys kind of suck, but this is a little nerve-wracking. Bad guy activation, now it's the bandit leader's turn. He also misses with a 4 versus Raskin's defense of 8. Then we're back over to Jill. Jill misses the bandit again, rolls a 4. Bandit gets a 6. Last bad guy activation randomizes it between the 2 remaining opponents. This time it's the bandit leader, which is good. Raskin has a lot more health, he has a lot better defense. Raskin just barely manages to defend it, 8 versus 8. So that was one entire round with not a single hit scored. Come on, people, do better. So new round, and again the bad guy sees the initiative. This time it's the bandit leader that gets to attack first. Again he misses, rolls a pretty poor 3 versus Raskin's defense of 9. Draw a good guy token. Come on, Jill, make this happen. Rolls a very solid 10, goes down to 8. Bandit can't defend it, rolls a 3. Jill has defeated her opponent. What a champ, nicely done. She goes ahead and advances. No reason not to, just on the off chance that Raskin needs some help. That means it's the bandit leader who gets all the rest of the activations. He goes next, misses Raskin 5 to 9. Raskin then goes and misses the leader. He gets a double 1, not great. Still could have hit him, but the bandit leader rolled an 8 for his defense. Bandit leader strikes back, again misses Raskin 4 to 8. Finally Raskin lands a hit of his own with a 12 to the defense of 8. New round, good guys go first. Raskin starts us off in grand style, rolls a double 6, which is an automatic hit. No defense allowed. He gets a second activation right after that, lands another hit. Raskin's on fire, 9 versus 6. Bandit leader only has 1 wound left. It's the bad guy attack next, can't score a hit against Raskin, 3 to a 5, and then Raskin strikes back. Brings down the bandit leader with a 10 to his 7. So not too bad. Raskin didn't take any wounds, Jill took a bunch, she's down to half health. Now we get an opportunity to loot the bodies, and we roll a d10, there's a little chart there, and we roll okay. We get the middle result, which means that we find a small healing potion. I'm gonna go and give that to Jill. I just have a feeling she might need it. The adventure also gives us a little camp icon. We can drink potions and do some other stuff. The only thing I really have to do is I want to identify that magic robe again. Might as well take every opportunity I can. I need to roll double 6s to do it. I fail, it's fine. We travel on. After a bit more trudging through the mountains, we come across the city. We can see it in the distance, but first we have to make our way through this spooky abandoned cemetery. And wouldn't you know it, there are scary things crawling through the ice and snow. There's a special rule here where all my guys are -1 to my movement. The bad guys are not affected. For obstacles, we've got a big tall mausoleum and a number of small low graves. And for bad guys, we've got 2 ghouls and an ice spider. The ghouls are a little bit better than the bandits, but not by a whole lot. They have 3 health, they move 4 squares, and their action dice are a d6 plus 2. They also have a regeneration ability. So when you take their last wound, you roll a d4. On the score of a 4, they get right back up again with 1 hit point left. The ice spider has a couple other things going for him. He only has 2 health, but he does move 6 squares. His action dice are still d6 plus 2, but he has the frozen poison ability. Anyone hit by the poison has their movement and their agility reduced by 1. Deployment didn't go great. Raskin's just deployed on the center left like you would figure, but Jill got put in the very bottom. And so since there was a gravestone there, she got pushed forward, and since there was a mausoleum in front of that, she got pushed forward even more, which is not where I want her. So a little bit too aggressive, Jill. You might have to make a hasty retreat in the beginning of this. So combat encounter starts. We don't have any advantage or disadvantage, just 3 tokens for each side in the bag. We get a good guy token first, which is just fine. Jill is going to try and retreat around the mausoleum. Of course, she's only moving 3 squares. I did not plan that move very well, though. Now the spider is the closest one to any of my guys, and it moves 6 squares, which is exactly what it needs to get right next to Jill and throw an attack. And sure enough, it hits her with an 8 versus Jill's 6. Jill is down to just 1 health remaining, and she's poisoned, which means she's down to movement 2. And if she tries to move away with that massive movement of hers, she's going to get an opportunity attack as she tries to leave. So she's kind of stuck there. I get a good guy activation. I don't dare have her try to leave, so I'm going to move up Raskin. Unfortunately, again, he only moves 3 squares. Can't quite get around to attack the spider. Can't attack diagonally in this game. Thankfully, we do draw our 3rd and final good guy token. Raskin gets to move up a little further, attack the giant spider. Lands a solid hit, 10 versus 3. Spider's down to half health. Next, we get a bad guy token, and so a ghoul moves in on Raskin. And the final bad guy token is drawn. The other ghoul moves up as well. New round, tokens are back in the bag, and I'm a little bit nervous. Sure enough, we get a bad guy token. That's not great. I know the spider is going to attack first because it's the closest one to my guys. But it does have 2 targets now, so I determine randomly, he's still trying to eat Jill. Roll Jill's dice. It doesn't go great. She rolls a 5 with the 2d6. That brings her down to 3, but the spider rolls a natural 1. With that plus 2, brings him up to a 3. Tie goes to the defender. Jill lives another round. We get another bad guy activation. The next ghoul moves up and attacks Raskin. Manages to miss, 5 versus 8. Raskin still holding strong. Third bad guy activation in a row. The other ghoul can't quite get to attack Raskin, has to move around that tombstone. So now it's 3 good guy activations all in a row. Raskin goes first and kills off the spider. Nicely done. Next good guy activation, I'm going to have Jill go. I don't want her staying there. If that ghoul moves in, he's going to have the choice of attacking either her or Raskin, so I just move her down. Yeah, I know she's moving out of the corner of the ghoul space. It doesn't really matter. She could have gone back the other way. And I haven't been counting diagonal spaces as being adjacent for the purposes of opportunity attacks. It just makes everything kind of weird when you're trying to move into a position to attack. So yeah, Jill just moves down there, and then for her second action, uses the small healing potion that she just found to get herself back up to only having 1 wound. 3 health remaining. Final good guy activation. Now that Raskin doesn't have to worry about Jill, he can turn his attention on these ghouls. Smacks the first one 12-4. Next round, tokens back in the bag. Raskin gets the first attack. Hits the ghoul again, 11-7. Nicely done. Ghoul strikes back with its next activation. Misses 5-7. Good guys again. Raskin gets the kill shot. The ghoul does have a chance to regenerate, but it doesn't roll the 4 on the d4 and just dies. Looking pretty solid. I think we got this one wrapped up. The final ghoul moves in to attack Raskin from behind, just like you would think a ghoul would do. Only rolls a 6. Raskin manages to defend with an 8. The ghoul gets another attack right after that. Again rolls that 6. It's d6 plus 2. Raskin defends with an 8. Again, he's got 2d6 plus 2. It's going to be hard work for these ghouls to get through Raskin's armor. Raskin gets the final activation of the turn, lands a hit on the ghoul, 6-4. Pretty miserable roll, but it was enough. New round, Raskin's turn again, lands another hit, 9-7. Ghoul only has 1 health remaining. It does get a chance to attack. In fact, it's going to attack 3 times in a row. First time misses, 5 versus 11. Second time misses 4, and Raskin gets a double 6. There's no way he's getting through that defense roll. And finally, the ghoul fails his 3rd shot in a row, 5-12. Raskin is in the zone. And just top off an already pretty good turn, Raskin gets the next activation, rolls a 7 on his 2d6, brings him up to 10. No way the ghoul can defend against that, and it also fails its regeneration roll, falls over and dies. So we win the challenge, and as a reward we get 5 wealth and also 1 skill point. This emphasis on swordsmanship has been working out pretty well for me. It's going to take 3 skill points to raise my modifier up another level to a nice +4, but I think it's worth it, so that's what we do. So no time to celebrate or camp, we're moving on to the City of Ice. And the first thing we have to deal with is a narrative challenge. We move into a big spooky abandoned temple, but it's not in the best condition, and as we're moving through, part of the ceiling collapses on top of us. Raskin and Jill have to make a CR6 agility test. Raskin's agility is okay, he has no modifier either way, and he manages to roll the 6 he needs. Jill not so much, she has -2 to all her stats, she fails the test. She has -2 movement now because a bunch of rubble landed on her ankle or something. I think she's still poisoned from that spider, so she's down to movement 1. Yeah, I don't think she's going to be charging into combat anytime soon. We also get 1 disadvantage for the next combat challenge for each character that failed, so that's 1 for Jill's failure. And that combat challenge is going to happen right now. We move into the depths of the temple. There's these giant statues taking up the center section, as well as a couple of small obstacles. There's a treasure chest on the far side, which is nice. But there's also this big, weird guardian demon monster, and it's brought along 2 ghoul buddies. The Temple Guardian always starts on the far side in the middle. The 2 ghouls have randomly determined they're going to flank him. Raskin sets himself up in the center as well, but Jill decides she's going to spring in front of him for some reason. Man, that girl's enthusiastic. We do have disadvantage, so we get 4 bad guy tokens and 3 good guy tokens. The combat starts and we get a good guy token. Sorry, Jill, I know you really want to get into this fight, but I think I'm going to take this one. Raskin's going to take that activation and move 4 squares forward. Bad guy activation is next, and the closest one is the Guardian. Thing is, he has a ranged attack, so he's just going to move a little bit and shoot an ice arrow at Raskin the Reptile. It hits automatically, but Raskin can make a difficulty 6 agility test to jump out of the way. Or at least that's what I think the rules are. The terminology is a little all over the place in this book. Sometimes you're awarded XP, sometimes you're awarded SP. Some obstacles are described as medium when I think they mean large. My best guess is that this is the way it's supposed to work. In any event, Raskin doesn't have any trouble of getting out of the way of this ice arrow, and so he doesn't take any damage. but it does encourage him to keep moving forward. So in the next good guy activation that we get, Raskin goes and moves his full 4 squares forward, getting right in the face of these monsters. But it's bad guy activation next, which means it's time for the ghoul. Ghoul moves in, misses Raskin 4 to 7. We get another bad guy activation right after that, so the final ghoul can't quite get into the fight down there, so he's going to move around the big statue. The only good thing is that he's still closer to Raskin than he is to Jill, so he's going to try and sneak around the other way, attack Raskin from behind. Jill gets to take a break. And we get another bad guy activation right after that. Closest bad guy is that ghoul attacking Raskin, so he gets to strike again. Ghoul misses, gets a 6 to Raskin's 12. Raskin's just being a tank. And on top of that, he's not bad on offense either. Gets the last activation of the round, hits the ghoul with a not great score of 6, but the ghoul only gets a 3, takes a wound. New round and the reptile goes first again, strikes another wound on him with a great 13 versus 8. Back to the ghoul, it misses 4 to 12. Raskin gets another activation, hits the ghoul again, gets a 9 to the ghoul's 3, has to roll for regeneration, which it does. Stays alive with 1 wound left. I knew it was going to happen eventually. No matter, we get our third and final activation for the round. Raskin strikes again, hits again, 10 versus 6. This time that ghoul finds death a little bit more permanent, fails its regeneration roll, and topples over. So it's back to the ice demon, and it's still not in close combat, so it shoots off another ice arrow. Raskin manages to avoid it again, and for the final bad guy activation, that other ghoul moves all the way around and is ready to attack. So, new round, draw a token, it's Raskin. He's got a little bit of a choice. He's got the ice demon in front of him, he's got the ghoul behind him. I know it seems weird, but I'm going to turn around and actually attack the ghoul. This ice arrow is actually not that dangerous. I've been doing pretty good at dodging it so far. The ice demon, on the other hand, its action dice are d6 plus d8. It's actually a lot tougher in close combat. So I think I'm going to take the time, I'm going to kill off the ghoul, try and dodge these arrows. Focus on this ice demon when I've taken care of the ghoul. Starts off pretty well, too. I roll a total of 11. Ghoul only rolls a 4, takes a wound. Get another activation right after that. Same thing, 6 versus 5. Ghoul takes a second wound. Ghoul gets to attack back finally. Misses me with a 4 to a 9. Yeah, I think at second level I'm quite a bit better than I was at first. This adventure is actually seeming kind of easy. Raskin gets his third activation of the round. Hits the ghoul 10 versus 7. Ghoul doesn't regenerate. It's just the ice demon left now. So now there's 2 bad guy activations left in the bag. They're both going to go to the ice demon. He's going to fire 2 ice arrows at the back of Raskin. No problem, we'll just dodge them like Neo in Bullet Time. Nope, not this time. I fail both of them. Whoops, slight miscalculation there. New round, bad guys get to go again. Ice demon takes another shot. Alright, this time I've turned around and I'm ready for it. Managed to dodge. Raskin gets the next activation, moves up, hits in grand style, gets another double 6. Can't defend against that. Temple Guardian takes its first wound. Has 6 of them if you're curious. Bad guy turn again, and now the Guardian gets to attack in hand-to-hand, rolls a d8 plus a d6, manages to get an 8. Raskin manages to defend with a 9. It was close, but we're doing okay. Raskin strikes next, does okay, scores a 9. Guardian rolls pretty well too, gets a 9 as well, takes no damage. Back to the Guardian, strikes at Raskin, gets an 8. That's not too bad, but Raskin only rolls a 5 with his brawn of 2. That brings him up to 7. Not enough, takes another wound. I think I'm going to win, but this guy's going to make me work for it. Back to Raskin, now he's mad. Hits the Guardian Demon with a 10 to his defense of 7. New round, and Raskin gets the first activation, goes and hits the Guardian Demon with a 9 versus a 6. Gets an activation immediately after that, but this time he misses. 8 versus 11, good rolling from the Guardian Demon. It gets to strike back this time. Can't capitalize on the success, only rolls a 5. Raskin easily defends with an 8. Back to Raskin again, lands another wound, doesn't roll real well. Gets a total of 6, but the Guardian Demon on his d6 plus d8 only rolls a 3, takes his 4th wound. Enraged, the Guardian Demon's going to have 2 attacks to end out the round. First one misses, 9 versus 10, and misses again, 8 versus 12. This is all but sewn up. New round, Raskin gets to go first. Let's finish this off. He rolls an 8, which isn't terrible, but the Guardian Demon rolls a 10 and defends. Gonna draw this out a little longer. I think he might be mad, actually. He gets his next activation, rolls a 10. Raskin only can roll a 6 for defense, another wound. Good guys get the next activation, and Raskin's gonna go on fire back, rolls another double 6. What is that, his third of the game? Temple Guardian's down to just 1 wound remaining. It gets the next strike, still can't find a weakness in Raskin's defense, 5 versus 8. Another follow-up strike from the demon, again can't find purchase, 7 versus 9. Back to Raskin, rolls a respectable 10. Demon can't defend it, only rolls an 8. That's the last wound. The demon falls down and dies. Don't even take time to celebrate. Come on, let's go find out what's in this treasure chest. 20 wealth, as it turns out. That's kind of a lot. The Temple Guardian also is wearing this cool little silver ring which we get. It's called the Ring of the Silver Arrow, but we need to make an arcane check of 7+ to figure out what it is. Again, our arcane is bad. We're dumb at magic. We'd need to roll a 9+ to identify it. We don't manage to do so. We can take it to the Guild of Arcanists, and for 35 wealth, we can have them identify it. But that's all my money. I have a total of 35 wealth. And plus I happen to know that the ring allows you to ignore cover penalties for obstacles, and that's not really going to help a guy without a bow. Maybe if I had managed to save a companion here and there, maybe I'd have an archer that could make use of it. But for right now, I guess it can stay at camp. Throw it in the pile of magic items that we don't know what to do with. But more importantly, I do get another skill point. Going to put that in swordsmanship again, just making my way to that +4 modifier. And that also brings me up to level 3. So now I can't do any more of these level 1 to 2 adventures. Got to move on to some of the harder ones. I do get to choose a new skill, and as I planned out before, I'm going to go with Heavy Blow. Heavy Blow takes 2 actions, and if I land the hit, then I cause 2 wounds. It is the reason that I took the skill Second Wind when I got to 2nd level. I wasn't able to use it at all this game. Once per combat challenge, it allows me to take another action. Wasn't useful here because you can't double up your actions, but now that I have Heavy Blow, I can move, and I'll still have 2 actions once per combat round to be able to still do the Heavy Blow attack and cause 2 wounds. I think that's going to make Raskin and his hammer pretty dangerous. If only I could get some more martially adept companions. No offense, Jill. Your enthusiasm is infectious, and there's something to be said about you just managing to stay alive. But yeah, at some point I'd like an archer. But there it is. That's the 3rd adventure in Rusty Dagger and the ongoing saga of Raskin the Reptile and his good friend Jill. Leave a comment below if you have any questions, observations, or concerns, and I will see you on the next one.